Hello. Over Christmas, I got a new phone with what should be a far better camera than the one in my iPad. So this is my first attempt to take a video with the phone and try and load it into YouTube. If you're interested, this tray is a tray of my duplicates. To be honest, this is the tray of the tattier, less valuable ones. As you can see, there's a whole pile of trays of duplicates, and I have another pile over there, and there's a third one at the back of my room. So I really must try and clear these at some time. But I wasn't doing this video to show you these. What I thought I'd do is show you some of the books by John Christopher, and I have, in case you've noticed, there is even one here, though it is rather browned and not that good. May have been a smoker's, although it doesn't smell. Now, Richard Rempel at Vintage SF has been talking a lot about John Christopher, and I'll be honest, the only one I've read is this one, The Death of Grass. Although I've always collected John Christopher when I've seen them, I must admit I've never really got round to reading them. The only one I ever read was Death of Grass. And I agree with Richard, it's an impressive book. It is worth a read. So what I will do now, I won't guarantee I've found all the books, but I've pulled out two areas where I knew I had lots of John Christophers, and I'm going to show you the books. And I'm going to start off with Death of Grass. Now this one is a far better copy than my duplicate. It's the first printing. I don't know whether there were other printings, but that's the Penguin version. Now that was followed in the UK by a Sphere edition, which I think is quite an attractive book. So that is another edition. In the States, the book was retitled as No Blade of Grass. It was published by Avon. And here is that book. Finally, I think this was the reprint. I have another copy of Death of Grass, which now has that. So without checking and opening up, I can't tell which is the first and which is the reprint. But as you say, that's the only, well, that the cover art is the only significant difference. This one's slightly grubbier and a little bit foxed or whatever. But anyway, I thought I'd show you both. So that is Death of Grass. In Richard's last video, he mentioned that he got some copies of the Tripods books. So I'll start with these. I'll start with two trilogy books. These are by Puffin, and they're basically the same, but that is an earlier one and that is a reprint. And as you can see, the reprint is considerably thicker, which probably means the paper quality isn't as good. It's a bit thicker. I've also got a uniform set of the books, and let me just check. The White Mountains is book 1. So there is an individual copy of the White Mountains. The City of Gold and Lead is number 2. The Pool of Fire is volume 3. And then, again in the same format, there's the book which I think came a fair bit later, When the Tripods Came. So it is possible to get a uniform set. I don't know offhand whether those are reprints or firsts. I haven't checked. I do have another copy of the final one, When the Tripods Came. Another paperback. And somewhere, yes, I also have the hardback. This was issued without a dust jacket. It is a first printing as such. So that covers the Tripods books. Next I'll show you the Prince in Waiting trilogy. First the omnibus, as you can see, once cost me 40p. And it is stamped. And it was stamped by 2 of the 3 bookshops that were fairly local to me when I was in my, well, possibly even my teenage years, and certainly into my 20s and 30s. And they've all now been long closed. Plus Books, that was probably, well, I'm fairly certain that was there 50 to 60 years ago. This one came perhaps 30 to 40 years ago, Swan's Books. He is very nice. He used to sell in Tooting Market, and he always put any really nice science fiction books that he got on the side so I could look at them before he then stamped them so that people could exchange for half price. Here's the trilogy in the individual books. The Prince in Waiting. Book 2, The Burning Lands. My apologies, I'm not going to remove the bags on these. And book 3, not a particularly attractive book. Again, offhand, without checking, not sure whether these are reprints or originals. And now I'm just going to run through a selection of other, I think, nearly all individual books rather than in series. The 22nd Century. This is an early Panther book. So quite impressive. The World in Winter, a Sphere book. As I say, I've always picked up John Christopher books when I've seen them, especially if I haven't got them or if they're an upgrade. But I must admit, I'm sorry to say, I've never got around to reading any of them other than The Death of Grass, which I did think was a very good book. This one is A Wrinkle in the Skin, a Sphere book. Another book, Pendulum. This is a Hodder book. So not all, some of these, most of these are in quite nice condition, but some aren't perfect. But they're all quite old books, so not easy to find in really nice condition. The Empty World. This is another Puffin book. And The Guardians, another Puffin book. Carry on, another pile. The Possessors. Sphere book. The World in Winter, a Penguin book. The Year of the Comet. Another Sphere book. Wild Jack. Sweeney's Island. This one is a Fawcett Crest book. Planet in Peril. As you can see, this is an Avon paperback. John Christopher, The Long Voyage, back to Sphere. As you can see, the printing is a sort of in orange rather than red, so the spine probably isn't faded. It's just because of the colour they chose. And finally, Cloud on Silver, a Hodder paperback. As you can see, when I bought this, they were asking £4. I don't know whether it was on offer or whether that was the price I paid. But anyway, that completes my review of John Christopher paperbacks. I say the main purpose of this was to check how the camera would work and whether I could use the phone to load onto YouTube. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.